Hello everyone, this is the individual consulting presentation assignment. I am your host, Scott Weaver, a student in the Department of Psychology at Liberty University. As you can see, today's agenda is listed on the slide. So today, we're going to discuss 4 topics relating to consulting in the industrial and organizational realm. Each issue will use summaries of 3 articles I have chosen to enhance your guys' learning comprehension. Each case will also include a biblical integration to assist the organization through a Christian lens, if they prefer. I chose these subjects because they are intended to assist you guys, the learner, in comprehending some of the practices that can be implemented to get an organization on the right track. Of course, they would not request IO consultation if they did not believe they required assistance, and that is where we come in as consultants or potential consultants. These topics are also intended to provide some of the potential issues you might see. Of course, it's not all inclusive, but these are some of the things that you might see or you might not see. Following the topics, we'll cover the summary and answer any questions. After that, I will show you the references so that you can take any and do your own research and you can look further into the topics. After that, you are free to go. Alright, let's jump right into the first topic, which is managing stress. We all know stress is a huge damper for life and work. In the IO realm, we can see that stress can lead to employee burnout, anxiety, and depression, and can even stifle employee creativity, which means your employees aren't going to be able to be as creative, obviously, and they won't be able to come up with new projects or creatively finish their work. So, although many more indications or actions exist, we're going to only cover the 4 listed here today because we only have a limited amount of time. However, there are many ways to prevent the stress that we're talking about from taking over an employee's life. The first recommendation came from Anderson et al. 2022, who stated that self-education about stressors, self-reliance techniques, outside education, social support, and psychotherapy were all used to assist public service providers with help from high-stress jobs. As we know, being a public service provider, such as a fireman, policeman, or ambulance, can be a very stressful job. So the department could also implement peer support programs to promote positive sleep hygiene practices to help public service providers cope with the stress of their job and prevent mental health injuries. This is great because being stressed out so much can put a huge damper on your mental health. So it's good that they looked into putting peer support programs and mental health assistance. The second recommendation was the importance of focusing on ethical leaders in the organization. The research was shown that ethical leadership allowed more innovative workplace behavior as a moderator versus not having a set style at all. This means that leaders can be leaders, but without being an ethical leader, it wasn't as good as having an actual ethical leader there following an ethical set style. So in the last research, it was found that in the construction industry that poor environments contributed to stress and more psychological capital was needed than simply just work overload. They found that stress was reduced when attention was focused on a work environment rich in good hygiene, housekeeping, and high unit cohesion. Obviously, it means that an environment needs to be psychologically safe for an employee to feel that they can have their attention, they can focus on their creativity, and they don't have to worry about mentally being stressed because they don't feel safe. So on to our biblical topic. So the biblical integration I chose for this, for managing stress, is casting away our stress to God to hear them through prayer and thanks for everything He has given us. Simply put, we can be stressed and worried. We're going to. It's going to happen. God knows this. However, we must remember that we are here for a purpose, excuse me, and will be cared for. As noted, the topics touch on forms of support to alleviate stress, so why shouldn't we consider prayer to be an alternate or in addition to the mental health help, the peer support, as a support for stress relief. I know for me, it helps me get through the day because I know I'm being taken care of. Hey, I'm over here now. Sorry about the movement, but I had to adjust my camera. So, on to our second topic, which is acculturation. So a quick definition is immigrant success and general well-being are influenced by acculturation or adjusting to a host culture. So what are the potential problems of acculturation? Well, the first thing I noticed in my research is that of occupational transferability. So come to find out, transferring from one job type to another can lead to lower levels of acculturation. As an example, if an immigrant is a doctor, moves to the medical field from his host nation to a construction field, their chances of successful acculturation are lessened. Second, it was found that retaining one heritage was successful in acculturation. But on the other hand, others might see this as a threat to their culture, especially in the host nation. The last problem I noticed in the research was that if someone is unwilling to accept the immigrant's culture, the immigrant may be forced to abandon their original culture in fear of reprisal, which simply means that, say somebody moves from a different country to America, and they see that the host country national, such as an American, says, hey, you're not acculturating enough. You need to pick up our culture. You need to be a part of it. Which isn't fair because they come from a complete different culture and should be able to keep that culture. So how do we help? Well, for the first problem of transferability, we can conduct expectation matches for immigrants before they reach our host country, if we can get to them before. So if a doctor can transfer to a doctor, we should do that. However, as this might not be possible as they are already in the position, we might see someone struggling in their position and speak with them about their current skills or expectations for the current position. If it does not match their immigrated country, we might offer to retrain, reskill, or transfer to another sector to make them more comfortable. Of course, these are not the only solutions that we could do, but they are some possibilities. For the second problem, if we find that the immigrant is dealing with discrimination or prejudice because of assimilation, we can run this through human resources to use training for the host country national to show the differences between reality and perceptions. Like I said before, some people might think that they need to jump in and say, hey, you need to assimilate into our culture. But in reality, they need to learn the differences. They need to understand that there are different people, there are different cultures, and that they can be assimilated into biculturalism, which means taking the host culture and the original culture. Many perceptions come from the host country nationals who think the immigrant has not taken enough of the culture when they are assimilating perfectly, but still retaining their own culture to retain their identity, as I just said. Last, we look at the problem of cultural abandonment, which is not something we want immigrants to have to do. In this case, we can ask the organization to focus on diversity and inclusivity programs tailored to all workers to allow immigrants to fully accept biculturalism and the host country national to accept the needs of others' identities. So for our biblical topic, I use Matthew 25:35. Our biblical integration of this topic begins with recognizing that Jesus was once an immigrant and stranger in a foreign land. This reminder implores us to demonstrate empathy and compassion for immigrants and strangers within our communities. Furthermore, it compels us to advocate for just and fair immigration policies that respect the dignity and worth of people regardless of their country of origin. Like I said before, we need to accept that other people are going to come, and every country should do this, not just us. I'm just using America as an example, that each country is different and they should assimilate together to create a melting pot of people. Because one country might have different ideas than another country, but it doesn't mean they're not as creative and they're not as dedicated to the work. So We can create a more welcoming and inclusive society by following Jesus' example of love and hospitality towards those unlike us. Immigrants must adapt and integrate into their new environment to thrive in the country, of course, but it shouldn't mean they should abandon theirs. They must include learning the host culture's language, customs, and values, and maintaining ties to their cultural heritage. Successful acculturation can improve immigrants' employment prospects, social support networks, and overall quality of life, to include their health and mental health. So on to our next topic, health prevention and promotion. So we all know healthcare is essential to our personal lives, but do we know why it is essential to an organization? One of the first answers that comes up is absenteeism, which can cost companies a lot of time and money as the employee's not there to do their work. Of course, we care about the people we work with, do not want to see them sick with any kind of illness or mental health problems, but this is simply from an organizational perspective. So we're looking from the company's view, not just from our own personal view. Second, a lack of preventative health care can lead to chronic conditions. If you don't know that you're sick, then how do you know that you're not ill with some kind of chronic condition? It's good to go get preventative health care, as it can find things before they become a problem. So I know the last title is a little confusing, but digital confusion is a confusion that is associated with newer healthcare platforms and ways to contact providers. So imagine only knowing one way, as in you walk into the doctor's office, get an appointment, and then come back for your appointment later on. Well, with the invention of new technology, there's several ways to get a hold of your doctor, through telehealth, through booking appointments online, and a lot of companies are starting to go that because it's quicker and easier and you can do it right from your desk. But imagine not being able to know that. It's confusing, right? So now that we know the problems, what are the solutions? Well, one way to assist an organization with absentee problems is we can offer changes to their policies for employee health care, some of which they may not have ever considered. For an example, an organization can offer stress management classes in-house or on the outside in a partnership, healthy options for on-site food, on-site fitness, and even reminders for preventive healthcare screenings. There are potential examples of changes in employee health which can benefit all in the organization by simply changing the culture to be more health conscious. Second, we talked about chronic diseases, which can hamper an employee in the long run. There are two parts to this, which I found. The first part is that if an employee has a chronic condition, we can suggest that the organization offers support for the person through local social workers or mental health care providers to assist with any problems they may need assistance with. The second part was mentioned earlier, and that is preventative health care. And teaming up with a healthcare center or doctor's office, employees can discover a problem before it worsens or possibly before an employee knows they have it, which, like I said, we need to know before it's a problem. In either case, the organization should have some healthcare program or initiative to keep their workers healthy. Healthy workers equals more creative equals always there. So preventative healthcare is a thing that needs to be a part of an organization. Although it costs them money, and that's a lot of the things you're going to run into, is that it costs money. Though in the long run, preventative healthcare is cheaper than having to deal with absenteeism. So, on to the last topic. So we discussed digital confusion being an issue for some employees, as healthcare has gone digital in some aspects. For this, we can suggest the organization use digital healthcare infrastructure to offer training on the new structure. They can send weekly newsletters or even promote workshops alongside healthcare providers to show employees the benefits of using the systems. So my idea was, when you get into the organization, you have all this onboarding you have to do. Why not add a 30-minute class that explains how to use it and have somebody, maybe in the HR realm, dedicated to showing you how to use it? So two of these processes I mentioned are continuous learning, which can eliminate the potential for confusion when needed. With the use of a digital system, reminders can be sent directly to the employee, offering them insights into possible health problems for themselves or in their region. So for this, if you think about the recent COVID-19 pandemic, we see that these weekly newsletters could have been sent to people saying, hey, this is how many cases we have right now. This is the suggested thing to do right now. Maybe mask up if you come to work, maybe go get the shot. Anything like that could have been a part of a newsletter that an organization could have sent out to help employees realize their health problems or any health problems that could come up. So our biblical topic, healthcare in the Bible, I found that we must remember that it's our responsibility to glorify God through our bodies, as we are not created by our own volition, but by His. So this means we must maintain our physical and mental health to honor God's creation and fulfill His purpose for our lives. The Bible also teaches us to love and care for our neighbors, including promoting and advocating for universal access to high-quality healthcare. As Christians, we must embody these values in our personal and communal lives. So when we see somebody struggling with chronic health problems, mental health problems, or anything, we should advocate for them through the organization from the Christian lens to say, hey, we need help. This person needs help. We should do this to assist them in feeling better and getting on the right track. All right, back over here. So on our last topic, which is employee involvement, as you can see on the slide, employee involvement is not just involvement in decision making, although that is part of it. It involves the employees and how they perceive and are part of the organization. For example, imagine getting a company and not assigning you a role. You can do whatever you want. Strange, right? Well, it actually happened in one case where no systematic or hierarchical roles existed in 2016. You would think this would be older, but it actually happened not too long ago. The amount of problems it caused were numerous, as employees were left with workloads that were just insane, training schedules, no development or performance practice, inconceivable hiring practices, and all employees had to take on the role of HR on their own. This eventually caused massive turnover, which made this even more of a cyclical process because management believed they had a good idea for the organization to attract more employees and did not listen to their employees. In another case, absenteeism was rampant as employees attempted to become more involved in the organizational process but continued being shut down. The workers asked for problem-solving groups but were again told they were unnecessary as management didn't want to have to listen. Of course, once you do this, employees no longer feel valued by the company and either use all their time off in excess or simply just leave and find another job. For the last problem of employee involvement, we look at work intensification, which is more than usual work that can come up, especially in the manufacturing industry, which I found in my last article. The problem generally is not that the amount of work that comes from this, but the delays it has on workers' continuous improvement processes, and it actually degrades perceived work outcomes. Even though a worker may be doing more work, providing more product, a worker sees this as their work outcomes are not as good as they were when they were able to continuously improve. So we're looking at employees feeling that they're missing out on improving themselves as they're just working and feel their work is less than their best. So let's fix these problems with some possible solutions. For the first problem, we would obviously need to stand up a separate HR, separate from the workers, as this would alleviate conflict problems and lessen workload. There should be no reason that a company does not have an HR. Yes, it does cost money, but they need to have an HR that can deal with the problems that come up and the hiring processes and all the other things that HR does. Additionally, we'd have to work closely with managers and stakeholders that understand the hierarchical needs of the company and assist them in implementing them with the HR program. which has actually been shown to increase employee involvement. Even though HR may be completely separate from the employees, they feel better, they're more involved, and they can understand what their role is. In the second issue, labor productivity was the root cause and needed to be fixed. For this, they found that the implementation of quality circles, those willing to work, were needed to increase employee engagement. Therefore, we would need to identify skilled employees who desired to be in their current position to create these quality circles. Basically, if you find people that want to work together, who want to do the best job they can, and put them all together, you're going to create a quality circle that allows a worker to feel better about what they're doing. But if you have, let's just say, 5 people in one circle, 4 of the 5 want to work, that one person's going to drag them down. Of course, retraining can increase engagement, but this was not tested in the study, which I would like to see. Maybe something we can talk about later at a different time. So this brings us to the last issue, which is work intensification and its downfalls. It was found that the world-class manufacturing system fostered an environment the longer it was used, lessening the impact of work intensification. Moreover, involving the employees with supportive teams and excellent communication practices was more effective in mediating the adverse effects of work intensification. So we know in the manufacturing world, manufacturing is going to go up and down. So they found that the world-class manufacturing system allowed them to create supportive teams for those times. They had excellent communication practices of what was expected, what wasn't expected. Yes, they lose their ability to train a little bit, but it got the job done and everything ended up working out in the end. So, for our biblical topic, building up each other is asked of us by God in the verse I have cited on the screen. He sees that encouragement brings us closer together, and what better way to encourage each other than to allow each to speak his piece with employee involvement. Employee involvement in decision-making, workplace efforts can foster a sense of unity and collaboration, which is exactly what God is asking of us. By valuing each other's individuals' perspectives and input, we can create a positive and supportive work environment that ultimately benefit both employees and the organization. Let us strive to build each other up and work together towards success as God has commanded. Pretty simple. We just do what we're asked of God to help build each other up so that we can all work together and create an environment that everyone wants to work in and everyone wants to be in. So there you have it. There's our 4 topics, as you can see listed on the slide. So to summarize all this, to help an organization become successful, we have to prioritize well-being and engagement of the employees while remaining flexible to change, as everything is changing right now. With technology, everything is just going faster and faster and changing, and we need to be able to be flexible, and the organizations need to be able to be flexible to help out with these topics. So organizational topics of stress management, acculturation, health prevention and promotion, and employee involvement are part of the problems you'll see. These aren't the only problems. And the solutions I mentioned aren't the only solutions, as each one is going to be different. So, as an example, companies can invest in technology that helps employees manage their stress and provide cultural training programs to assist the new hires in adjusting to their new workplace. Health promotion can be accomplished by providing healthy food options in the cafeteria, fitness classes during lunch breaks, and even on-site childcare, which seems to be a problem these days as childcare places were shutting down more and more with the COVID pandemic. Although it's getting back to better, it's still a problem in some places as a lot of companies have lost funding. So another possible solution is to implement open door policies, team building activities outside work hours, which have been shown to increase employee engagement. Although some people don't enjoy the outside work hours thing, maybe do it during work time. Like I said, millions of solutions, each one's unique, each organization's unique, so it's going to be different. So it's also important to note that these solutions are not exhaustive, as I've said, and businesses should continuously evaluate their efficacy and make adjustments as necessary. This is just one of those problems, or not one of those problems, this is just a major problem that is coming across, and this is where we come in. Between the organization, the employees, and the outside world, we can come up with solutions creative solutions that can fix the problems that are unique to the organization that they may have never thought of. Of course, you're going to run into money problems, you're going to run into staffing problems, but in order for them to be successful, they have to listen, we have to be able to do what needs to be done. Now that we've covered everything, gone over the summary, integrated some biblical topics, is there any questions about anything anybody wants to talk about today? No? Alright. So next I'll show you guys the references. They're on the next slide, which I'll bring up now. Here's all the references. You guys are free to copy it. I can print you a copy, give you anything. That way you can go and do your own research and check it all out. If there's nothing else, I appreciate your time. Hope you have a blessed day. And feel free to contact me through my email, and I can talk to you about anything you want to know about the industrial organizational world. Thank you.